Hey guys, there's a few people already in the chat. Good to see you guys. Hope you're having a good Friday. Yeah, good Friday evening, even though you're spending it with me and later on Loomdart if he manages to join. But yeah, should be fun. Should be fun. What up, Doug? Feeling better? Yeah, still super sleepy. I'm gonna go to bed straight after this, but yeah, feeling better. Hey Don, hey Flurry, or Reuter, or both. At least it's sleepy and not headachy. I've got a little bit of a headache, but not as brutal as the last week has been. So, was it the Rona or no? Not entirely sure. Not entirely sure. Wasn't tested because apparently you don't need to get tested. So, who knows? My doctor doesn't, but it's fine. It's whatever. I'm feeling decent enough. Like if it gets bad, I have a hospital pretty close by, so it's all good. Ducks are immune. Yeah, that's the way to go. So yeah, before we start, big shout out to Bybit for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate it. Their links are in the description if you do want to check them out. They do have some cool stuff going on every now and then, like the Bybit competition, for example. That was a lot of fun. Hoping that comes around relatively soonish again. I think it should, but nothing on the timeline, I think. But yeah. And with regards to Loomdart, he told me he'd come on a few minutes late because he's still walking his dog. So you'll have to wait a bit. So I think we just start and then get his opinion. So yeah, I think we can start with ETH actually, because this is going to be the more interesting chart to watch. Like I said last stream, I'm still not convinced by ETH. And this has actually been a relatively nice pop, I think, to fade. But yeah, we'll see towards the monthly close, like playing it safe. It's waiting for a close below 390. I think if that happens, we had a break above resistance, break below in the retest. And that'd be good enough for me to expect. I mean, on the monthly, it looks like a tiny pullback, right? But that's a significant pullback. And I'd expect that to happen if we lose 390. So now it's even more obvious what to do, because if we close above this level, I mean, I'm not gonna short. If we close below this level, I'm gonna aggressively short, looking for the first support, which is 270 to 280, this area, which is like a 20 to 30% pullback. Makes sense to me. I mean, it doesn't have to happen, right? If bulls kind of stay in control for the next like 7 days, we're good to go. But to me, this doesn't look too, like, I've seen this too many times. But yeah, that's kind of my view on it. Oh, I think that's Loomdart. Let me quickly add him in. Yo, Loomdart. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Sick. Now we have to figure out if the stream can hear you too, and if they can, let me know. It should work.
Hello, friends.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
It looks like they can. Perfect. Sick.
Ah, wonderful.
I started out with talking about ETH. Do you have like the monthly chart? Do you look at the monthly chart at all?
I don't really look at monthlies, but it's more a case of like trend lines don't really scale well to the monthly.
Oh yeah, that is true. I mean, I wouldn't know how to draw a trend line here either. But yeah, for me, kind of like, it's kind of funny because there's so much confluence in this area, like the 390 level. Loomdart and I've been talking about it a little bit for the people that don't know. Like, we're both watching that area. I think we can actually get you screen sharing later on. I have
Oh,
not
sweet.
done that before, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, for me, 390 is the line in the sand. Same on the weekly, really. Like, imagine if we started closing back below 400, that'd look bearish. If it doesn't happen, I mean, that's a breakout. I wouldn't want to fade that. But yeah, if it gets sold into, that'd be looking bad. It's kind of my view on ETH. What's your view on ETH in general? Let me
I
actually
think
see
it's.
if we can do the screen share thing. Do you know how to do it still?
Yeah, it's just through here. Let me just get a nice clean Chrome window. It's
Where-
not filled with 50 tabs.
Where's Cred? Cred's busy. He has a well-deserved day off today. Hi Dawn, we have invested roughly 7 figures in CRV at around $2. We're down almost 90%. What the fuck, bro? This seems like a troll to me. Yeah, I mean, we can look at the chart later, but yeah, that is weird.
So it's Chrome. Let's see.
Yeah. Let's.
Chrome tab, and we want ETHUSD.
Yep.
There we are.
Okay, let me move this over. This should work. I don't know how to full screen it, but I think this does the trick. Usually it's Loomdart that does Loomdart Cred that does this.
It's the pretty face.
Yeah. That's good. Let me see if everyone. Yeah, looks good. You can go.
Right, sweet. Well, the 390 level Don's talking about, I have like a similar line there. It's this white one that was like, this was super nice back in early 2019. We just look at this, it's beautiful. Oh no, there we go. But yeah, it was just a super good like support resistance line. And it worked with that Bitstamp nuke.
Oh
if
shit!
you
Yeah, I
remember, like
that.
May.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a lovely little retest.
It goes all the way.
But yeah, so it's a pretty good macro line, I think. And it was even the I remember because I shorted it in February at like just under the 300s.
Casually shorted the top. Sick.
Yeah, but I also I closed for like 5%, thinking I was like an OTC sniper.
Shit.
And then, yay.
I mean, that's kind of what usually happens when you short the Pico top, right? You're like, holy shit, I'm already up so much, and then you close.
Yeah, it's the whole like trading your P&L stuff. But so as you can see, like it's been pretty good support resistance for late 2020 as well. Mm-hmm. Like we had a bunch of bounces from 360s.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think if we start closing back under it, this whole move just looks like a macro deviation, kind of like a Ethereum dead cat bounce off of the Bitcoin bullishness.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. Like if it does, I mean, it doesn't have to go down, right? I mean, at your charts, it's at support too. So I mean, maybe it bounces
if we start like bouncing off of it as support.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be completely fine. It's just you can't lose it, is what we're saying.
Yeah. And I think kind of like actual fundamentals wise as well. Like nothing's really changed with Ethereum.
What do you think about the ETH 2.0 kind of stuff that is going on right now? I mean, it's supposed to come out soonish.
Yeah, I think if ETH 2.0 isn't like at least somewhat priced in, I will be just completely amazed.
As in, this entire rally is kind of pricing in ETH 2.0?
I think just not this rally, but just ETH's general like strength. Yeah. Like most people who are invested in ETH already own Ethereum, and No, I don't think there's going to be many people who are going to transition from like I hated Ethereum, but now ETH 2.0 is here, so I'm in love with Ethereum.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's often the case, right? We don't really have the retail crowd joining in, right? So it's pretty like everyone knew about ETH 2.0 coming in. Like, I mean, that's been kind of public knowledge ever since this rally started. Or, I mean, it's kind of been announced for a long while, right? I mean, and it's been announced and kind of put off to like, how often has the
It's been a few times. I
right?
think it was early 2019 that the whole kind of ETH 2.0 thing started. Was that a bit too early?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It feels like forever ago, right? First was like, oh yeah, ETH 2.0 is coming soon, and then it never did. And then, I mean, even this year, it should have come like a while ago, right? From what I know.
Yeah, but who knew decentralized systems were kind of complex?
True, true. I mean, that's not my field of expertise, but it's, I mean, it's kind of the case with pretty much any crypto that everything takes longer than you'd expect.
Yeah. So I'm not like I'm not fundamentally bullish on ETH 2.0.
I mean, that's a bold claim, but I can see why. I can see why. But then again, like a lot of people that I know, like a lot of our friends, have been like trying to stack ETH to make it like into the staking thing that's gonna happen. So who knows? Maybe that pushes it up afterwards. I can't really like fundamentally no idea. Chart wise for me it's relatively simple, and I mean that's just like if you're bearish, you want to see a close below like 390 on the monthly, 380 on the weekly, and then you can short it all the way down to 270. If that doesn't happen, it's probably gonna go higher or chop around. So I mean, you can be aggressive higher, but doesn't really make much sense to me. Like
Yeah.
if you really want to go hard on this, I think you do it below 380, 390.
Yeah, I changed the time frame to the weekly, and like if you remove every other trend line but this one, you can still kind of see like if this weekly or like even the next weekly just closed below, this
Yeah.
whole kind of move just looks like a gigantic shakeout. Well, I wish I could tilt the chart like 30 degrees so it just looked like horizontal.
Yeah.
I genuinely think like it's a different way to look at it. It can help a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it, as long as people trade like any lines, really, they work, right? So it doesn't really matter if it's a horizontal or diagonal, in my opinion. If you have people trading it, just works.
Trend lines are just horizontals for uptrends.
That is true. That is true. I like that actually. I like that because you can't really make any horizontals in an uptrend, but you can make the trend lines.
Yeah, we just got lucky in crypto because everything died before it started pumping again.
I
But I mean, like, imagine being a Tesla trader. Like, what do you do?
I mean, I wouldn't know. Like, I saw Tesla, and we can look at it really quick for the people that haven't been following Tesla for a while. Um, shit's
My
been
Tesla chart's starting to look really
insane.
interesting.
Okay, let me see yours. This is mine. It's just like I mean, you can't really make a chart out of that. It's just straight up. Up. How much? Yeah. I mean, we don't need to talk about this. Like, if you're stuck in crypto, no holding the glorious Tesla, fucking hell. This can hurt, but shit happens. Oh yeah, I like your chart as well. Starting to
It's
look
just
like it wants to kind of roll over, huh?
Yeah, it's not pretty, but it's just been like this trend line's been super nice, just constant bounces. But usually with scenarios like this, I think it's kind of similar with Bitcoin, where it's very kind of pretty. It never like violates the chart. Like there's no major stop run or anything, if that makes any sense.
I mean, in the
Like
strongest. Go on.
you'd be like, oh wow, this is such a clear pattern. They're obviously like gonna take all the stops or whatever and then nuke it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you see it a lot with Bitcoin as well. Like when we had the let me just here with 13k, like we just never made a no highs or anything. It just kept kind of retesting, dumping, retesting, dumping.
Yeah, and I mean you can go even further back, right? If you with Bitcoin,
Yeah, exactly.
that's what I'm
Like
saying. Like it never broke out really. Never made a higher high.
yeah, and I think Tesla's similar.
So you think that's it? Tesla's gonna roll over from here? What's your call?
I wouldn't be bullish here.
Yeah, I agree. Like, is it the same for your trend lines? Like, when they get tested too many times, you just don't want to buy them again?
I think it's usually where if it's the third test you never trust. But then after that you kind of like you keep doing it till it stops.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I was so I probably would bid this again and then kind of like just get out if we start closing below.
Yeah.
But that's like if I didn't have a underlying legacy thesis or whatever.
Which, I mean, we haven't talked about, at least not in the stream, but it's bearish, right?
I think it's bearish, but like my shorts are now underwater somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, why is it bearish? Can you show the like legacy stuff? Because I don't really do that much.
I mean, I guess I was kind of shorting into previous all-time high, which was obviously going to give some form of a bounce.
Yeah.
But I think like we've had a good few months of stocks only go up. But if you look at stuff like Amazon, it hasn't really gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just kind of chopped in this similar range. And I think this is all while the kind of narrative of stocks only go up and people have started to kind of flip. Since with stocks, you're not like retail doesn't really matter because they trade a few billion. What you want is like the actual major fund flows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority have been just completely blasted, being bearish on the way up. And so this kind of feels like the complacency consolidation top where people are like, all right, screw it. I'm in a good long position now. I'm just going to hold. Stocks only go up, yada yada.
And then you shake those
And
people
then
out, and then you go
yeah,
only up.
yeah. So I think like we could just. I really want us to see us just kind of chop around this red trend line some more.
Yeah, I think you've shown that before. It's like a really old one, right? Like a
Yeah,
super
it's
old trend
from
line.
bloody I guess from 20. It's probably 2017 to start of just kind of how it was used to support over and over and over.
Yeah. I mean, it's been pretty good. Holy shit. Just looking at it
I
now.
mean, like the thing with trend lines on long time frames for stuff like the SPX is you're guaranteed that some crazy billionaire is trading directly off of it. So like you know for a fact people have the line on their charts. And like you don't have to be exact with it either because it's just like a general line. So like you can have it up a bit or down a bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as like horizontals, right? It's an area of support, not, okay, it has to be
Yeah.
exactly that line. Yeah. Because, I mean, with trend lines, even more so, because like with trend lines, if you just draw it a tiny bit different, it can still make sense, but like over time, like if your trend line's from 17, um, it's gonna look like it's gonna be in a different place, obviously, than like someone else's trend line that drew it from the same kind of area. So I mean, I guess for like trend lines, it's even more of an area than for horizontals, where you know exactly, okay, this is the price where I want to draw the horizontals and where most people are gonna draw it.
Yeah. Because I guess you've got the whole kind of the is it off the candle close or the wick or the that debate, which is just crazy to me. Like, bro, just draw your line.
But, I mean, do you subscribe to the, okay, just draw it the way you think it makes most sense, or do you give it like more weight depending on what it is. Because I think it's relatively easy to say, as like someone that has been doing this for years, okay, I just draw it the way it makes sense to me. And I mean, that's how I do it most of the time. I don't really think, okay, does this have to go here or here? I just look at the chart and I see which area I find most important. But like as a beginner, it's not that easy, right? You don't really see where the line should be.
Oh yeah, that is true. Because I guess I kind of have. Let me show my Bitcoin trend line. Oh, actually, let me go back and put back all the trend lines I deleted.
Oh, did you delete everything?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh no. Okay, there it is.
Just a few more.
Oh no.
Well, maybe they're gone forever.
Shit, did we ruin the Loom lines? No resistance,
That's right. I have
no
a
support.
backup for it. But yeah, so if I were to draw, where would it be? This one. The double extended trend line. Ah, there we are. So this trend line's kind of like a wick one. So I'd look for where kind of wicks went into it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see here, and then it kind of just became a very consolidation-y line.
Yeah, it just trended.
Yeah, so
around.
I used it. Yeah, so I think for these types of lines, you're hoping to kind of catch the wick right on it.
And that's what happened at the high too, right? Like the recent one.
Yeah, and so I think it depends what type of line you're drawing. I guess this is quite hard to explain, actually. Wow.
Yeah.
It does, just like it kind of makes intuitive sense.
Yeah, to you, but then like that's the
to
problem,
me, but I guess
right?
it sounds like just bollocks to everyone else.
But I totally get it because I used to be like, yeah, I just draw this way, and then people were like, yeah, but why? And then I had to start thinking. I was like, shit, how do I explain what I'm doing? Because it's not that easy to explain.
Yes, there's resources online for drawing trend lines.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Just resources for everything online.
It's not like nothing's Bible. Like there's no scripture here. It's completely like you don't have to be exact. Just because when you do TA, you're hoping that other people have like the similar idea as you and they're going to work off of it as well. And so it's just fact that no one's going to have the exact same line.
Yeah.
So like you don't have to be too kind of precise.
I mean, it's just pretty much predicting where you're going to get sponsored by other people having the same idea as you, right?
Ooh, I like that. Sponsored.
Yeah, I mean,
Because I mean, the market is just people buying and people selling.
yeah.
So like, if you find a place where people are likely to sell, you can sell there.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have like that kind of buffer from other people doing the same thing. It's like you moving a bigger position pretty much, right? If you could influence the market yourself. But in that case, you just know, okay, there's other people there that are also selling or also buying. I mean, there's the other way where you're just like waiting for people to show up. And that works too, right? Like, let's say price dumps really hard into like a level where you think it's interesting, and then you just wait for other people to start buying, and then you pile on too. Or you just like hope that area is technically important enough so that other people do the same.
Yeah, and I mean, like, people talk about like, oh, you want to be buying when everyone's selling, yada yada. But like, if no one's buying, the price isn't going to go up.
Yep. I mean, that's just not how it works, right? If everyone's selling, you're gonna get run the fuck over. It's just how it works. But the thing is, like, I think most people mean by like saying that, they mean, okay, when like the smaller fish, whatever, dumb people are selling and the smart people are buying or whatever.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like not that easy to call, right? You never know, like if a smart person, I mean, in crypto, sometimes you do know. That's the cool part about this market, I think, where you have like a
This
lot
is
of
why
information.
we're just so lucky. So I mean, no, I don't think any other market has anywhere near the kind of information on derivatives that we have.
Yeah, I don't think
So
so either.
like, if you want to see what, if you want to see if people on derivatives are like buying or selling, you can't just type in butane's funding indicator for like the SPX, and it'll just show you the positioning on the major exchange.
Yeah.
Like you have to pay like tens of thousands of dollars to like armies of researchers to kind of trawl through just trading logs and freaking exchange flows and stuff.
It's kind of wild that we've had like the funding, just like if you just blindly traded off the funding for the last, I don't know, it's at least 10 months now, isn't it? You would have been printing money pretty much. For me, it's always been like the funding stuff's always been, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna reduce when the funding doesn't agree with my thesis, but I didn't like completely ape in. But you've done that pretty much, right? You've been,
Yeah, I've been quite devout,
yeah,
but I mean it's ever since late 2018 where it was just us like DMing each other ETH's bull spam. It's like the funding was negative for like weeks on end.
yeah, I remember that. That was good times. Back in
Ah,
the day at like below 100. Oh, that was fun trading ETH. Terrifying because like whenever ETH moved like $1, that was so much money. Like because if you think about it, that's a lot of people kind of forget that. Like if you're trading ETH at 80 and it moves $1, that's very very different from trading ETH at 300 and it moves $1. Because I mean,
yeah, it's the same as $5 now. Actually,
yeah,
more. It'd be
it
like six
yeah,
or 5.5 or so.
and then even more so if you factor in that most of the trading has been done on the Quanto contract back then. So it's kind of like you have Bitcoin and other
You've got
prices
Bitcoin
too.
underneath you.
Yeah. So I mean now it's just like a very very different. I mean it's the same thing now, right? When you have like $100 moves and people are like we're so volatile now. I mean $100 moves now are not as big as they were at 4, 5, or 6K. So
I mean, I think this is like quite a big issue with people, just because it is kind of hard to like adjust in your head where okay, so $100 at six is now $200 here in percent wise.
yeah,
Like, I wonder how many people are still kind of because $100 scalp just feels like a base unit. So like you're like, all right, I scalped $100 here, but the fees you're paying on it here compared to like 6,000 is double.
yeah. It makes a huge difference. And that's like one thing that you have to always keep in mind. Like, there's a lot of people that trade on, like, that showcase their trading on Twitter and whatever. You gotta realize that a lot of those people have, like, cheaper fees than you do. So, I mean, some of the trading, like, if you're just trading in, for example, at these prices at like $50, like scalping $50, and you mark it in and mark it out, you're not making any money. Um,
I mean, it turns into wait, so it's around 0.07. So yeah, it's $10 in, $10 out.
yeah. So
I think the base BMX. Oh wow.
So you're getting wrecked quite hard. And I mean it's obviously always the argument where people can say, okay, you don't have to mark it in and mark it out, but like let's say you're wrong, right? And you limit in and then you have to mark it out, right? If your trade is wrong. So you always have to kind of account for that at least. And then even more so if you're like small time frame trading, getting actually filled is a little bit harder to do, I think, like getting filled at the bottom. Because it depends a lot on, okay, are buyers really showing up or not? But it's not my area of expertise. There are better people out there to talk about that kind of stuff.
Get the bot boys on.
Come again?
The bot boys are Gainsies.
Oh, the bot, yeah. But I don't think. Actually, he's been trading a little bit of small time frames, I think, but he's always been saying that there's not that much alpha in there. And we've had him on actually. Have you heard it at all?
I haven't heard yet. No,
Ay, ay,
it's
ay.
on my. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like, there's so many podcasts and kind of stuff out there. I haven't watched a lot of stuff either.
I used to make it like a thing where I just never go near any crypto podcast. But I think that was a bad mindset. It's like you do learn cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just fun to kind of get like a little bit behind the people that you follow, right? Like get them to know a little bit. I always enjoy that when you're like, I mean, it's very different experience when you're like seeing tweets or like chatting than actually talking with people. So yeah, I'm digging this. This is a lot of fun. Like I don't think I would have normally done it, like the interview stuff, but Kretz convinced me, and I quite like it now.
Sweet.
So yeah, that's ETH. Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin's pretty hard in comparison to ETH. I think. I think like if you want to be bearish Bitcoin, it kind of has to, like, on a bigger time frame, it kind of has to lose 11.6, and I mean that's quite far away from price, so it has to lose that area. If it does, I think that's quite bearish, and I wouldn't like want to have anything to do with it above like 9.8. So if it gets back in this range, you have the deviation above the range, you go to range low at best, that kind of deal. But as long as that doesn't happen, it doesn't really make much sense to be like higher time frame bearish. I mean, that's the reason why I've been saying I think that the bears are kind of getting a little bit overzealous at these support levels, because I mean, like Loomdart talked about earlier with the funding and that kind of stuff, like counter trading that is always terrifying. So it's definitely something to watch. And I mean, that was scary down there.
Was this at the tens?
Yeah. Like,
oh jeez. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You go.
Like for me, I shorted that, took it into like the 9 to 10 support, and like one thing that I really wonder about is, do you think if MicroStrategy wouldn't have bought this much, that this support would have held that well? Like, because I think it would. Like, I think we would have crashed through it, but I mean, it's obviously you can't test it. You just don't know. But what do you think would have happened?
So usually, like, before we do any crazy dumps, we'll get like a kind of derivatives build up.
Mm-hmm.
Like open interest will rise as people trade chop and get in tighter positions. And like we didn't really have that here
This time around.
And also this time around, yeah. And also it seemed like there was just, I mean, from 12k, I like the sentiment was completely different to say around 12k the last time.
That is true. That is very true.
Like you had like major Twitter accounts just basically advocating hedging, and like it seems like I guess this is a kind of the result of us going from 10,000 to 3,000.
Yeah.
Like it still seems like no one's making crazy bets. And so since no one's making crazy bets, it's much harder to kind of like trigger their liquidations, or have, say, like if someone was $100 million long and their liquidation triggers, now they have to sell $100 million of Bitcoin, which was probably what happened like the few times we did really tank, like from 10k to 8k. But like there's no people who are like crazily positioned like that anymore. And I think it's been the case of like just the whole trend up, where like support's just held, and like I guess resistance has held as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been
like
technically it's been a pretty nice uptrend really so far, even including this recent like 9k test.
And so I think if I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to say because it's all like conjecture. But if MicroStrategy hadn't bought, I I, I think 10K would have still held, but we probably wouldn't have pumped as hard.
I mean, that's a fair assumption. I think we would have probably taken out the low, like went deeper into the 9Ks at least. Um, but yeah, it was like whenever you have this kind of stalling in a strong trend, right? So like when you have anything really show massive strength, right, as Bitcoin did in this rally, and then you have a breakdown and you just start stalling at like a good level. Like oftentimes it's just, I mean, you don't really want to be shorting into that just based on the fact that, I mean, it's a strong trend for a reason, right? And betting on a trend change is always kind of more risky, obviously, than just betting on like supports holding when prices going like has been going up. Um, but yeah, it's obviously easier to say in hindsight than down there. Like for me,
Yeah.
I was still like, I was still saying, okay, I could still see this go down, but like the technicals are too good for me to short into this, and yeah, I mean, very few people besides you, of
Yeah.
course, were really bullish at
I'm
those
never
levels.
doing that again, though. That was scary. I mean, like literally, if we went to 8, I would have lost a lot of money, like a lot.
Yeah, way too much.
So
I mean,
yeah,
you told me about the shit you were doing. I was like, oh fucking shit. I'm gonna have to buy a spare couch if this shit goes wrong. But I mean, I'm glad that it worked out for you. And I mean, I'm glad that I didn't lose money on this because that would have sucked. Imagine like this is the kind of thing that with shorts, when you're in a short and then it just does nothing. You don't want to be long term in a short, right? If you're long term in a long, it's a little bit different because generally speaking, the stuff that we're trading at least like Bitcoin or like stocks, like they go up, like they tend to go up, right? So the longer you're in the trade, the more likely, like if you're a short trade and you're trading Bitcoin, the longer you are in that trade, the more likely it is that you're wrong, right? So I, I think in general, like if you're shorting Bitcoin, the timing has to be pretty good because you, that's something that I usually tend to do. Like I short and then it has to do something in a certain amount of time and it doesn't, then I just get out and wait for another opportunity because yeah, if you're stuck in a short too long, I mean, we've seen people way back in the day too. I mean, just short stuff, and then I mean, these prices seem crazy, right? But I mean,
it's a crazy world right now.
yeah. So it's like if you're stuck in a short and it takes forever to play out, more than often you're wrong if it plays.
I think that may also kind of be why we've like this whole move up since basically I'd say since we broke 7,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like let me screen share
Yep.
again. Longer term. There we go. So I feel like at least it seemed like people who were who had shorts with good entries were content in the like, oh sweet, I shorted the top. It'll probably chop around a bit, but I don't want to let go of this position.
Fuck. You're talking about me, bro.
Uh, but I mean, so they kind of end up becoming the kind of fuel
Yeah.
where there's so like wait, where was I going with this? So they never kind of close just because they're like, oh sweet, I'm in a good short. So it might work for a bit, but then it kind of starts creeping up back up on them. And I think that was the case for basically this entire rally.
Yeah, where it just starts slowly and then speeds up. And I mean that's the dirty thing Bitcoin likes to do, where it just kind of grinds and grinds and grinds, and it gives you enough time to either like if you're convicted that it's gonna go down to short, or like if you're convicted it's gonna go up to long, and then it grinds and grinds, and then it just starts slowly heading one direction, but it fakes out like so many times on the way there that you don't trust anything anymore, and it just slowly creeps into one direction, and you're like, this is gonna be faded again, and then it just completely flies or dumps. And
yeah, but I mean, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
But I mean, like, you could say, oh yeah, I shorted 12k, but like, we went from 12 to mid 10s to 11. Like, there was a lot of price action in 12k. So it gets kind of like head fucky, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if you shorted the left side of that, definitely. I mean, I got lucky shorting the right side of it and then being pretty much instantly right. And those are usually like when I short and I'm instantly right, those are the good shorts that I take. And when I take a short and it just does nothing for ages, it's usually the shorts that I regret taking later. And with longs, it's oftentimes the opposite, where it's like you take a long and it does nothing and you just want to close it because like, holy shit, this is so scary to hold. And then it starts creeping up and actually gives you the long that you wanted.
I think kind of like a good way to, pardon me, a good way to have traded the 12k range is like Bitcoin does this a lot, where this is a clear, like pretty clear support resistance line.
Yeah.
And we retest it once and then dump. And that dump always goes back up. And so like everyone who shorted here on the retest is like, oh sweet, I've got the retest, like I'm set. And then like the high was obviously taken in this candle. Yeah, but it still didn't break the trend line. And that's always always a great short.
I like that.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's
because we did it last year with the 10k break that went to like 9.5 and was completely brought back up, like here.
Well, that was sturdy. I remember that.
It's like, oh sweet, we finally broke support, and then just completely straight back up. I guess even here as well.
Yeah, those are the ones that I tend to see before it starts breaking down. Like for example with that line, like you've got so many tests, right? And you kind of see how the bounces become weaker and weaker, right? And then at some point, I mean, everyone's kind of trained to trade that support, and then you see these SFPs or whatever you want to call them, like these sell-offs into support or below support that get bought back up. You see them happen over and over and over again. And people tend to kind of just buy those and then set the stop at the low. Then they get stopped out and they're like, holy shit, that was the stop run. I just got stopped out at the bottom. And then they just re-enter with the next stop loss again at the low. And at some point they just get completely rolled over. Like I've seen that happen to so many people where they're just like panic trading those SFP, whatever type of situations. And they usually happen before like a major breakdown, when in these kind of situations, when you have like a support tested a million times and then you start like getting SFPs.
Yeah, and I think since it's such an easy line to draw, that like a lot of people are trading off of it.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to 12k where I was talking about it. So you could also say like, if someone was kind of long inclined and say they were longing it every time, this may be like, oh no, we're finally getting back into support, so like it's time to re-long or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of, it's a very dirty move when we break through the retest and go a bit higher.
Everyone that's like shorted the first move and got a really nice entry starts panicking at exactly that line. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, they do dirty things. I mean, it's the market. It's not even there. It's just the market tends to kind of.
It's just shit. This is like, I love how this always works out, but it's like a market filled with millions of people will always feel like it's being orchestrated by like a few people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way chaos works. It's like millions of people end up averaging out. So like you get to a point where like a million people could just be one person because it's like the average of them is shown on the chart.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense?
No, I agree. I agree. Like most kind of conspiracies are like just conspiracies. There's not that much behind it. But it's always fun to think about it anyway. Like I mean,
It
because
is.
I mean these charts they play out in a way where it fucks with most people, right? So you could think, okay, there has to be someone behind it, but it's just I mean I guess that's how the universe works, right? Where it just fucks over the most people, like always. And it's just I mean that's how the world works, right? Most people get fucked. A few have it good, and doesn't really have to be a grand conspiracy. Someone asked about altcoins in general. So I mean, I've not been charting in the last few days too much. Like I've seen Litecoin take a nice bounce. Not entirely sure what's up with that. I think it's because of the PayPal announcement, including Litecoin, right?
It's pretty hilarious how like it's 2020 and we have freaking PayPal just like, oh yeah, you could use our platform to buy Litecoin, and it's approved by the New York Attorney General.
Yep.
Like, it's just so weird.
I mean, times are changing, man. Times are changing. I mean, that wouldn't have happened for the last like. It's always weird how they happen when price goes up or has been going up for a while, right? But yeah. So yeah, not entirely sure with Litecoin. Just gonna wait and see how this plays out. Maybe if it kind of puts in a nice consolidation here, it's not bad looking. In general, altcoins, I mean, you can kind of like when I want to see how altcoins are doing in general, I just look at Doge because I mean, fucking love Doge, and Doge's been starting to capitulate a little bit. So yeah,
Doge was such a good. Sorry, finish.
nah, that could to go on. What's
It was such a good indication of like what was to come.
With the
It's
altcoins
like
in general.
yeah, just how kind of crazy the market was for just, I guess even with stocks as well, because like the Doge pump kind of front ran the big stock rally from like where the SPX broke 3K.
That is true, yeah.
Kept upwards.
I mean, Dogecoin is just the best indicator, market indicator. I mean, it only goes up. I mean, it makes sense, right? It only goes up when like people feel confident enough to buy altcoins in general, or when I mean, in general, that's pretty much it. Like when you have a little bit of hype around, because I mean, Dogecoin's just Dogecoin. Nothing happens with Dogecoin.
Yeah, like
ever.
It's just the fun.
Yeah, and for me, like in general, I've kind of been concerned with how many people are trying to front run me on Doge. Usually, when that happens, when people feel confident enough to front run me on these things, it either doesn't give me my entry, which sucks, right? But most of the time, what it does is just completely nukes the entry that I want to take, and then bounces like 30% lower or something. So I'm just chilling on Doge, waiting for like 15 and lower. I'm gonna buy there, see if it goes there. I don't know. So that's kind of my view on the entire altcoin market. Like, see Dogecoin head to 15. If it does, I think the altcoins get attractive again. But I mean, it's really hard to call. But I'm just looking, like when I go through my list, like I look at Nano. This looks completely fucked.
Jeez, Nano.
I mean, that's just sad, really. And I mean, look at Komodo. I mean, that's pretty much how the altcoins right now are doing, right? Besides the one that are getting hyped, like Wi-Fi, whatever, Link, and that kind of stuff. This is how the general altcoin holder is doing. And I mean, that's just a basic. And the funny thing is, like, this was called accumulation by pretty much like 90% of the altcoin traders on Twitter, which always annoys
Oh,
shit
I
out of
miss
me.
those days.
Because like,
we don't really get it anymore.
yeah, I mean the thing is like, if it goes sideways, it doesn't have to be accumulation, right? I mean it can go sideways. I mean you can keep something in a range and just dump on people and reduce the position in a range until it breaks down, right? Sideways isn't equal accumulation. Always happens that way. Like people are like, oh, it's going sideways. This is accumulation. It's the one biggest issue I have with TA that I see, like mostly altcoin TA that I see on Twitter, where it's like boldly claimed, like, how could you not buy this accumulation? And it's just, I mean, it's not that easy. If it was that easy, everyone would be rich, right? If you just would have to wait for something to go sideways and then you know it's accumulation and then you buy, I mean, trading would be easy. I'd love that.
I mean, you taught me this basically because I mean, I was the guy back in like 2018 who's like, "Ah, this thing's gone sideways for so long, it's in accumulation." But like, the thing is, in crypto, there's a genuine, like, there's a big opportunity cost,
Yeah.
and I think people realize that. So it's not only you who thinks it's an accumulation, but it may be like other people. Apart from they value their money, so they're like, well, if this is being accumulated, I'll buy when it's going up.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh, sweet, it literally reversed this trend. And they're waiting for that. And you, like, it's much better to be one of them and kind of join in with them than be the guy who's like, oh, it's accumulation, I'll buy now, and then wait for like an infinite amount of time.
I fully agree. I mean, let's just think about it. Like, if you've been stuck, you buy Komodo, right? Because you think like it starts going sideways. You think it's accumulation. You buy it early because you want to be the first guy to buy it, right? And then you buy it in January of 20, and then you've held it, and then at some point you develop feelings for that position because I mean you've held it for 6 months, so might as well hold it for 6 more, right? Then it starts breaking down, and people like I start speaking about, okay, nice is the move below the range. That's where I look for shakeout to maybe get in on a long or like start a position, and then you're like, oh shit, if he's thinking of buying, I don't want to sell, right? And then you keep it and it just keeps on dumping while I'm waiting for a reclaim of that thing. And then it just keeps dumping, and at some point it's just like, fuck this, I'm out. And then that's where it starts bouncing. It's kind of like how it always goes with these, where you try to be early. Whereas if you try to be like just where the volume and kind of the hype is, you usually do better. As long as you know when to take your exit, because I mean, in crypto in general, with all coins, I think, I mean, you always have to think about an exit. That's the crazy part, like the crazy difference, I think, between these markets. Like if you, maybe Bitcoin is an exception, but like in general, like in the crypto markets, I think trading altcoins, you have to think about, okay, where do I get out? In comparison to stock markets, where technically you don't have to get out because it's an eternal Ponzi, or has been anyway. So most people in the stock market don't think about getting out at all, while we are here trading these altcoins, and we kind of, like most of us, know that like 95% of this stuff is trash. So you kind of always have to think about it. That's my opinion anyway. So it always pays to be, like, it pays in these cases, it kind of pays to be not the first guy to get in, but like in the middle of the pack. Like Loomdart said, like, you don't want to be the guy that just rushes in and then tries to buy the bottom, unless you're godlike traders exist, but most of us aren't that good. So if you can kind of catch the move in the middle and then ride half of it, it's more than plenty, I think.
It's also just dangerous because, like, at which point are you like, all right, this isn't accumulation anymore, I need to get out?
Yeah.
I mean, this
yeah.
is from like mid 2019. So like, how much has Bitcoin moved and like other stuff moved? Like the opportunity cost of like $1 then is probably like probably 2 or 3 now. It's just scary.
And the thing is, the scariest part about this all, right? Let's say you're trading with a little bit more size. When prices go down in crypto, liquidity tends to just disappear. So it's like you bought this while it might have been liquid in this range, right? And then you're stuck in it, and it starts going and starts losing the range, and suddenly like the entire liquidity of it is gone. So if you want to sell, you start slipping like 10, 15, 20%. And then it starts to get scary real quick because you're like, oh shit, do I even get out of this position or not? And then, yeah. It's kind of a scary situation, even more so because you never know if there's anything wrong with the project because you can't really tell in most cases. Like, yeah, for me at least anyway, like when I look at these altcoins, I don't know if they're fundamentally sound. I don't know if their code is well written. Like at some point could get any kind of problems with it. I wouldn't know because I mean it's not the stuff that I look at. I just look at the charts, right? It's only dangerous if you're leveraged. If you accumulate spot during pullbacks and hold for long term, you're fine. I mean, if you accumulated on dips on Komodo for in the last 3 years, you've been fucked.
Another thing is, it is a mindset thing. Like, if you're completely fine with just holding and you don't care about the opportunity cost, but what usually happens is someone's like, "Ah, sweet, I'm gonna buy some of this," and then like it'll pump, and then they kind of turn into long-term holders, which is just never good. But if you go in like directly with the outlook,
yeah, if you're like, I can buy this altcoin and sit through 90% drawdown because I think at some point it's gonna, like, as soon as people realize how cool this is, it's gonna mega rally. I mean, it's like an investment in any kind of early tech, early whatever, where I mean, there's a good chance you're wrong, right? And that's kind of the crazy thing in crypto, where it's like super speculative, but people are very, very convinced that they're right. Like if I bought any of these coins, right, even if I believed in it, there's a good chance I have no idea what I'm talking about, right? For some reason, like most people don't have that feeling where they're like, yeah, I like this, but there's a good chance that I'm just an idiot, right? So I don't want to just risk it all. But then again, like a lot of people have been rewarded for that kind of like, I like this, just gonna go all in. I mean, it's been worked with Bitcoin, it's worked with ETH, it's worked with a lot of these coins in the early days, right? Like if you think about it, like this stuff is down like 95% against Bitcoin. If you bought it when it came out, it's probably still up. It's just you're a little bit late if you bought after the first like 2000% increase or something. People are talking about DeFi. What do you think about DeFi? Where's it headed?
So I'm still like, I'm incredibly bullish on DeFi as a concept, but there's nothing for me to buy that like resembles what I think DeFi is, which is like my whole idea is it's literally just decentralized BitMEX, and you generate money from people trading, which is like just, I think the whole concept of just everyone being a trader is something that's only ever going to go up.
That's an interesting thing to talk about, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like, we live in a world where it's very hard to break into the whole kind of like rich get richer scene. So I mean, we kind of have stocks, and I think the fact that like Robinhood, just trading on brokerages in general, has like skyrocketed so hard is because people like, it's not so much a case of like just a bunch of degen gamblers, but more so people are just like, I can literally work my job for freaking 30 years and I'll the most I'll ever get is like double my salary. Like, this just isn't worth it. And I mean, they're completely right. I guess it's getting kind of political here, but like money just doesn't really trickle down. So you're kind of stuck in the position where, okay, so these guys are just printing money off of the stock market. I mean, it can't be that hard. It's time for me to do it. And the scam for the last, I guess, few decades has been, oh no, it's super hard and complex. Like you can't deal with the stock market. No one makes money trading. Just invest in our fund, where they take like freaking 3 or 4% a year, just skimming off the top.
I mean, that we've talked about this in private. Oh yeah, someone mentioned you're fiddling with something,
Oh,
which
sorry.
makes no worries. We've talked about this in private before. We've been like, yeah, it's kind of fucked up where you have these suit guys that kind of tell you, okay, yeah, get into my fund, get into my thing, and give me your money. Pretty much, I invested for you, and then they underperform pretty much any index, anything really, and tell you how well they manage their risk or whatever, and then you see a crash like this February crash, where they actually underperform too. So it's not like they're managing your risk; they just kind of
Exactly. It's like, oh yeah, so we hedge. So they're like, they don't make much on the upside. It's like, oh yeah, obviously you're investing in us because we'll protect your downside.
yeah.
And then they freaking lose more than the index did on the downside. Like, why would anyone? And the thing is, this isn't like some conspiration talk or whatever. You can literally see like net short positions on the SPX
Yeah.
from funds and stuff, and they peaked at the freaking like on the way up and at the bottom and stuff. And like these guys just
I mean, it's pretty much just us
haven't
sitting
done
there,
well.
right? It's like they don't know more. Like, I mean, they might have more access to information than we do, but a lot of these people, they don't actually like. I mean, no one knows where the market is gonna go, right? And they're just making bets on it. And I understand why people like, why the fuck would I put my money there if they have no like I mean, they're just following the index pretty much. And then you see stuff like Tesla, which a lot of younger people in our generation saw coming from a mile away, right? Which then get picked up like at way after, like by bigger funds. So yeah, I mean, I totally get why people are kind of moving to take control of their own kind of investing, but it kind of feels. I mean, maybe I'm wrong in this, but it kind of feels like a general market top indicator. Like if it was anything else but like the stock market, which pretty much always goes up, I'd be like, yeah, it does kind of concern me that everyone is suddenly so into trading and oh yeah, get rich quickly kind of stuff. Because I mean that usually doesn't end well. It didn't end well with altcoins and crypto. Didn't end well with people learning to margin trade before the 6K breakdown. I mean, that was
That is very true.
that was
But I
kind of
guess it's
fucked up.
kind of
Yeah.
it's different here in that the kind of like the amount of money in circulation is I think the whole USD devaluation it's going to zero stuff is just complete bollocks. Like the Federal Reserve aren't a bunch of monkeys. Like they relatively know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I also think like it is just fact that there's a lot more money around now. So, oh geez, I lost my train of thought. So I think that it's not kind of like say in crypto where some random like everyone starts trading altcoins and they just completely nuke. Because like even with like how would I say this? The moves haven't been crazy yet. It's just there's a lot more traders.
I mean, I'd say Tesla is a pretty crazy move though.
Yeah, but I mean Tesla's like it went from 20 billion to say 300, which is like it's a big move, but relatively not gigantic.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting. I think like that's the thing. It's really hard to actually value these things, right? I mean, it's just I've always struggled with this in crypto, but I think it's pretty much the truth for any kind of market because I mean, there's models where you can kind of say, okay, this should be valued like this, but it's always in relation to, right? Because you can't say, okay, this is worth this and this amount without kind of comparing it to something else. And then if the entire market goes crazy, you can get crazy numbers just because, I mean, like nothing makes sense anymore, right? And then no one knows what is worth, right? So I don't know. But for me, I'm kind of getting a little bit cautious when I see, I mean, it's the age old, okay, the taxi driver is telling you to do this and this and this. And I think that's been happening a lot recently. It's just a question of, is that a new paradigm? Which, I mean, it might be really because like the access to this kind of trading hasn't really been there before, right? If you think about it, like the draw to crypto for a lot of people was back in the day, at least, it's way easier to get into because you don't have to have a certain amount to be able to trade it. You can just do it. And I think that's been changed in the real markets with Robinhood and other stuff like that, just joining the party. But yeah, what do you think?
So I think there's some valid, like we at 3200 before it dumped to say 2900s. If you can just pull it up on the chart.
I can let you pull it up too if you want to.
Oh yeah, that's true. Present now a Chrome tab, and we want SPX 500. So we kind of like we had a bit of market euphoria at the 3200s, where the whole like long your longs, yada yada, retail's getting into trading, stuff like it was really big, and then we had like a bit of a sell off there, but just like that was completely engulfed afterwards. So I think we may get kind of peaks where it becomes very, very like it kind of gets into the taxi driver shilling you shares category. But like it seems like on general this is kind of a different type of paradigm shift. So I guess what I'm saying is this time is different.
I mean, it might be, right? It might be.
But like, I mean, I'm bearish, but it's only for like say till 3200s, like maybe like a 10% drop.
And do you think that has any indication for Bitcoin at all, or do you think it's now finally decorrelated?
I had quite a few threads on how I think like whenever we start to correlate really heavily to the SPX, it's usually on the downside.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like kind of someone who's made profit shorting is just kind of pushing the market around using derivatives.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that usually ends up just giving us someone who we can squeeze on the upside, which I guess happened this time around as well. Because like this rally was completely not related to the SPX. Like the SPX actually dumped while Bitcoin pumped.
Yeah.
And so I think like the thing you've got to realize is like correlate, people buy and sell. Like there's no godly power that creates correlation. It's caused by buyers and sellers.
Yeah, I mean, it's by traders mainly, right?
Traders, yeah. And so there's a reason that stuff correlates, and it's not always going to correlate. And if you can kind of figure out why it's correlating, like my argument was that it's just like short sellers who were in nice shorts kind of pushing the market around.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been also a lot of people just took advantage of the correlation. Like, you see it start to kind of, you have no idea where it's going. You see another market move. You're just like, oh shit, if this market moves like this, maybe other people are going to watch that too. And then you just trade off of that. And then you start making money with it because other people see the same thing you do, and it automatically starts correlating, right? It's like drawing lines pretty much. And then at some point it's obvious that too many people do it, and then it starts getting taken advantage of, right?
I guess you can kind of like time it as well, where so like the SPX will dump and then Bitcoin doesn't dump as hard.
Yeah.
And then it keeps doing that to the point where like it just doesn't move when the SPX dumps per se. And then you're just like, okay, so this is starting to fade.
Yeah. For me, what I've like one of the main things that made me very cautious on this, like being short into this rally, is whenever you get negative news in Bitcoin and it starts like it usually dumps off of negative news, right? But if it just dumps weekly and then reclaims that, and then something new comes, like in this situation, we've had so many bad news, and it just dumped a little and then reclaimed it again, dumped a little, reclaimed it again. That's not typically bearish. Like whenever you have something bearish happen with Bitcoin, it nukes completely. Like if the market is bearish and something negative happens, it just nukes completely. I mean, if you just look back at the 6K area, when you had bearish news come out, I still remember like, I don't know what that was, where we had this rally from 6 to 7 something, where you got some bearish news into the pump that completely dumped it. But usually you get like these kind of candles. And if that's not the case, right, if you don't get it and then support keeps getting bought, you know exactly that those FOMO sellers that sold the news are stuck in their position or can take advantage of. So it's something to watch out for. It's the same with bullish news, right? Like when you get a couple of bullish news and then you just make like weak pumps, then you're
that's honestly one of my favorite shorts.
Yeah, like bullish news into like a pathetic pump. Yeah, same here.
Because I think people are still buying and selling into it. It's just the market is absorbing it. So like there was people who sold immediately when the OKX bad news hit. And like the market just absorbed it. It wasn't that there wasn't sellers. It's like there were still sellers. It was just they were being absorbed. And so now these people are stuck in a position. And like that kind of makes it easier to squeeze.
Yeah.
And I think it's even more so with bullish news, where say some good news comes out and you like 10x long into it.
Oh yeah, the famous.
And now like, or say you even add to a position because you're like, this is so bullish, I need to buy with the news.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it stops pumping, and now there's more risk for you because your liquidation price is higher or so. But you're like, there's bullish news, it's fine. And I think that's kind of why we usually get we'll get a decent, not decent, but like not a small pump and then just complete wreckage on the other side. Because markets can't let everyone win.
That is true. There's always, I mean, even like, there's always another person on the other side of the screen, right? You're selling, someone's buying in general. So, I mean, technically the market it's never everyone wins because someone's selling, or at least like when you have actual volume there. If it just gaps up, like let's say Bitcoin just gaps up from 12.9 to 30K from here. I mean, the few short sellers that are in position right now would get fucked, but everyone else would be winning. But generally speaking, I mean, yeah, it's not everyone winning. And in general, like on the leverage side, it's even more true. Like, it just doesn't happen. But yeah, we've had in the chat, DeFi holdings talk about like what was it called? Position
curve. CRV.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if this troll or not. If you seriously just put like millions into something like this, I mean, I don't even know the coin, but
so basically what YFI does is
it's just curve.
Curve, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know what it is. I mean, that's obvious why it's dumping then. I mean, it's just like you're getting
this is
dumped
YFI's yield.
Yeah, I mean, and it's obvious why it's dumping. I mean, do you want to explain it? Do you know why?
So with YFI, you put your money up, and then it's kind of like a group farm. So everyone starts to farm curve with YFI. Mm-hmm. So how would I say this? So let's say I put up like 100 ETH and 10 YFI, and YFI pulls those funds to farm curve. So they'll stake the money on the curve platform, and the reward for staking the money is curve itself. And YFI just sells that curve, and that's how they make money. So there's just constant downwards pressure.
Yep.
Which is kind of obvious from the chart.
And then, like, I mean, the way it's structured, right? I mean, it's hard to call it inflation, but I mean, it's like there's so much of it coming out.
Yeah, I think monetary supply increase is like the correct term.
Yeah. But it's like, whenever you have that kind of stuff, and I mean, it's with the yield stuff in general, right? It's kind of similar with like print, for example, where you're always going to have like constant sell pressure going on when the coin is, I mean, it's with SEC the same, with Zcash the same thing, where you just have pretty much the structure of the thing is pretty much made to dump on you because there's so much new stuff coming out.
Yeah, and I think these things usually, I guess I don't want to give any false hope, but like people expect it to keep selling as well.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, I could buy now, or I could buy in like 2 days when the price is down 20%.
Yeah. I mean,
so they usually like
bleed.
I mean,
they bleed and then they mega pump, right? But the thing is, even Zcash, right? It's really nice narrative, decent looking chart, and couldn't do anything. Like, this looks absolutely trash now. It's actually, funny enough, already have like a head and shoulders again.
Oh wow!
Like, this looks complete trash. And the thing is, like, I've got this line on the chart, and I've kept this line on the chart for a reason, right? This shit, that's the speed with which this shit dumps, right? And whenever you have a big move below it, you get a move above it. You get a move below it, you get a move above it. But in general, the trajectory, whatever, of this coin is downwards, right? And that hasn't changed. And I mean, I like Zcash from my limited knowledge, but I mean, it just dumps on you, right? And any kind of coin that does this shit, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, it's the same with XRP, right? But you're gonna get dumped on, and you only have like small windows of opportunity in between.
But the kind of flip side of that is when it does get bullish, the market's like really underexposed, just because they're like, well, I mean, it's just gonna dump forever. I'll buy when it's going up. But it's better to be with those people and kind of try to front run them a bit than it is to like, sweet, it's dumped enough. Because like you can just always keep dumping.
Yeah. I mean, the difficult part is like you could have, in this case, for example, you get these few green candles. And the funny thing, if you look at the weekly of Zcash, I mean, green candles are a rarity. I mean, I haven't counted, but I'd say like 3/4 of this chart is red, if not more. So you have like one pump candle, one big one, and you get like 6 bleed candles. This shit is nasty. But the thing is, like, you could have said, okay, yeah, now it's starting to get bullish again. It's made a higher high. It's a low here. The uptrend is starting, right? The problem with like waiting sometimes is that you just buy into something like this and then you get wrecked also. But I think it's still better, and that's why I usually have these, like, for example, I looked at this and said, okay, if it goes back above there, then it starts being bullish. So like pretty obvious points in the market where selling is gonna come in, and if it can kind of defeat that selling, then you at least you have a chance to kind of get a bullish move, and you have an invalidation, right? Let's say this moves up here, trades into this, starts going up, right? You have your invalidation down here. It shouldn't close below that, like, again, otherwise you just get out. If you just buy into the split, right, where you, like, let's say here, where do you put your invalidation? You don't know yet where it's going. You don't know where you're wrong. because I mean it's making new lows. So yeah, it's always, I think it's always better when you have like a plan instead of just Hail Marying. The thing is, like, if you're an investor, you don't really care, right? Like if you really like the project, you just buy into the bleed because you know it's gonna go up, and I think that's fine too. It's just not something I would want to do for altcoins in general. I don't have enough trust in altcoins to invest in them. I don't know about you, Loom. Is that like different for you? Do you like, are there altcoins that you trust enough where you're just like, okay, if it gets that cheap, I'm just gonna buy it?
I mean, for stuff like that, you kind of need to know more than just the chart. Like, if you know, I guess, I mean, it's not insider information because none of this stuff is securities, so there's no legal risk. But like, if you know stuff from, say, like the team themselves, or like you're convinced they're like relatively smart, because there's a few cases in crypto where something like you could buy it, it goes down 40 or 50%, and then it just like completely gigapumps.
Yeah.
And so like if you know more than just the chart, it's like I wouldn't say it's a bad idea just to kind of buy. But the thing is, it's very easy to trick yourself into that mindset as well, where you think you know,
And then you don't actually know.
then
Yeah.
you don't. Yeah.
I mean, I told this story last stream, but I mean, I'm not even sure if I've told you that before. But a friend of mine, like PQX, I don't know if you know the coin. Friend of mine DM'd me one day. He's been back holding literally, like, he bought the ICO, it went up 100x or more. Went down 99.5% since then. He's held all the way through, right? And then at some point he DM'd me and he was like, dude, I've calculated how much money these guys have and how much money they've spent and how much they've been dumping. And I'm pretty sure they're out of tokens. So like the whatever inventor, whatever of the coin doesn't have any tokens anymore. So they can't dump on me. So I'm just going to buy. And it was literally the bottom. And it's been going up since, and always find this funny. It's like this autistic giga brain. It's just sitting there like calculating this. I think he sat on it for like a week, just calculating, making sure he was right. And then he just literally bought like more than doubled his position at the absolute bottom. Not chat enough to sell the top. And this is one of the things, I mean, I don't think anyone in crypto right now has this problem, but like that was an actual like worry in 17, where he was like, I bought this ICO, it's 100x. If I sell now, I'm going to get taxed on all of it. So I don't want to sell. Because in Germany and in a few other countries, if you hold this stuff for longer than a year, you don't have to pay taxes.
Yeah, it flips from income to capital gains. Yeah.
And the big thing in Germany is that you actually don't have to pay any taxes on it if you hold it for longer than a year.
Yeah, I think that tricked up a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's what, like, I told him, and this is one of my greatest calls. Like, I told him literally at the top. I still remember, like, because Wolf of Polonius chilled it hard, like really, really hard at the absolute pico top. And I was like, dude, this has to be the top. Like, it's moved so much, just screams top to me, sell it. And he was like, I think so too. I think this looks like a top, but I don't want to pay the taxes on it. And then he said he didn't pay the taxes on it, but he said in it for 99% drawdown. So I'm pretty sure he would have liked to pay the taxes on it in the end. So that kind of stuff, got to be a little bit careful. Like when I mean, it's obviously smart to kind of watch out for taxes and that kind of stuff, but rather sell something when it's still high than just sitting through something like this, even if you have to pay taxes on it. But yeah, easier to say in hindsight as well. Back to Curve, my opinion on it, I have no idea. Like, this is just an absolute disgusting chart. I don't know where the bottom's gonna be. This just looks like this is the Zcash thing all over again. If you look at it, draw a line through it, just following the line. These kind of charts usually end up in a capitulation below, right? I mean, I don't know if it's gonna, but like if I wanted to buy this, I definitely want to buy it like as far away from that trend line as possible, and then bounces above. But no idea, not my market.
I guess you could kind of try and get smart with like seeing the open interest on, since like hedging is a gigantic thing now in crypto and like everything's got a derivatives like based off of it. You can kind of maybe try and like catch a short squeeze.
Yeah.
Where people are, all right, this is going to go down forever. Screw it. I'm just going to like short it and print money. And maybe that will be like some form of redemption, but like you're still kind of gambling, I guess, there.
Yeah. I think like the short squeeze, if it is a short squeeze, I think it's gonna like usually it doesn't have to happen in this case, but usually it first breaks down, baits people in, moves away from this steady downtrend, and then starts like putting in a short squeeze. But I think that's one.
And I guess we have like metrics and stuff as well. So like maybe if the funding rate gets like ridiculously negative for shorts, or it'd be positive for shorts, yeah. So they have to pay funding, and like that's to a crazy level. But I wouldn't like going to this blind at all.
Yeah, I mean neither. Like, it's just for me like one, there's no history for this, right? So I mean, like based on the chart alone, you can't do anything. So I agree with Loom. You kind of look at funding, you look at that kind of stuff. But even then, like with the funding, like if someone asked about this earlier in the chat as well with Filecoin, right? If you look at Filecoin, I don't know if you guys have been following it. I've been loosely following it because it's an insane story.
I hate Filecoin.
Yeah, same here. I mean, it sounds like it's one of the most scammy things I've ever heard, honestly.
I mean, the only reason it exists is because of a gigantic Chinese point. Well, not the reason it exists, but like the reason it was so dominant in the markets was because of the whole Chinese kind of Filecoin miner craze.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact, like how it works, that you have to, it just, everything about it screams, stay the fuck away to me. Beginning from the obvious overvaluation, right? And people are like, the funniest thing, that was a meme on Twitter, right? Where people were like, yeah, stay poor if you look at the fully diluted cap or whatever. But if it's as ridiculous as Filecoin, like, you know, like there's going to be a rug pull, right? You know that shit's going to go down because, I mean, if it maintains current prices for the next 5 years, yeah, it's impossible. It's literally impossible. So when you have that kind of shit, you always know, like when you have a predetermined outcome, right? In this case, like the outcome of this, when the valuation is that high, is that it's gonna dump, right? Jesus. And you're at that stage. No, I'm gonna remove this. It's too ugly. So you know it's gonna go down. Price is here, right? You know it's gonna end up down here. Why the fuck would you want to play this move or risk your money for this move if this move is the move that is certain, right? Like, I don't really see the point in longing something like this where you know it's going to go down. You just think it's going to go up first. Because if anything, you wait for the up move and then short into it. But like Loom said, with funding and that kind of shit, you actually, like, you had to pay a shitload of funding to short this. Which
yeah, at the start,
which makes it really difficult, right? Because let's say you short this, and I mean, you know it's gonna go down, and you get like a decent short entry, but then you see that you're paying like, I think it got to like almost 1%, right? In funding, like
yeah, it maxed out at 0.75s, I think. Well, just like the highest FTX would go.
Yeah. So I mean, when you're looking at that and then you're waiting 10 hours, that's a shitload of money, right? So it's pretty difficult. But in general, like, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised that this is dumping.
Yeah, the way this stuff usually goes is it'll like traders are like, all right, this is a new project, it's liquid, there's a lot of stuff going for it, let me trade it. And so they'll buy and sell at like typical support resistance, yada yada. And then they're done, so they leave. And then like the core principle of Filecoin, which is that like the supply is going to be increasing a lot, it's crazily overbought, kind of sets in. And like since all these traders are gone, it just starts the bleed. And it's kind of like the first few people who traded Filecoin and then were like, oh, it's at support here, I'll just hold. Like they start getting washed out, and so they start selling, and then, well, you see what happens after that.
Yeah.
Where all the traders leave, and it's kind of like the schmucks that are left.
And then
I think what
at some point, even those people kind of realize that they're massively overpaying, right? And then it goes in the opposite direction, obviously, at some point. Usually.
Yeah, but it's just hard to time that.
Yeah.
But I think what's kind of unique with Filecoin was that, so initially it was priced ridiculously high because to, like, let's say you invested a few million into a Filecoin miner, you needed to pledge the miner with Filecoin to start mining, which means you had to buy spot Filecoin, and there was like 0 Filecoin available. So you were just forced to buy on like spot markets where there's like 10 Filecoin net. So the price went up stupidly high. And that kind of like memes people into where it could go. Because like, oh, it went there before, yada yada.
Yeah, but it's completely unrealistic.
Yeah, it's the complete clusterfuck though.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the one thing, like looking into this kind of stuff, it's the same with Curve, or have someone else look into it. Like when you know that there's gonna be a shitload of stuff coming your way, getting dumped into you, you're gonna have to have big conviction, and the project in crypto anyway has to have a low market cap, because, and I mean, it interests me if you agree with this, but for me, Bitcoin's always the iron ceiling, right? Nothing goes above Bitcoin. I mean, maybe at some point you get something cool and it, like in 10 years, and it overtakes Bitcoin, but I'd be worried at that point. But generally, like for me, the cap is Bitcoin, right? And then if you have something that is relatively close to Bitcoin already, anything that isn't Bitcoin that is relatively close, I mean, you're taking on a lot of risk to kind of make little, because for me, the cap is Bitcoin. And in this case, like this was overvalued by a shitload in comparison. So it's just gonna dump. So if you want to do something like that, like a play where you know there's a lot of coins coming your way, where people start dumping, it has to have a low enough market cap to kind of make that worth the while. Making that risk worth the while, because otherwise there's a cap and then you risk a shitload for tiny gain. What do you think about it?
I think I'd agree with what you said, just exactly.
Yeah. I mean, would you be worried, like if at any point anything would overtake Bitcoin and be like the next big thing for like not just like a day, like Ripple did back in the day, but for longer? Would you be like, oh shit, if one thing can because for me it's kind of like, if one thing can overtake Bitcoin, that thing is going to get overtaken as well, right? Because if you're like,
I had that similar argument as well, where like I think with Ethereum is interesting because like something can overtake Ethereum and something can overtake the thing that overtook Ethereum, but like I don't think anything can ever overtake Bitcoin.
That's exactly what I think as well. Because like if Bitcoin gets overtaken, the entire value proposition of this entire thing goes down the drain, right? In my opinion. Because like, I mean, if you're like, oh, Bitcoin's the digital gold, whatever, right? I mean, I can get that argument. But if you then get like a new one that is better, whatever, and I mean, there's probably gonna, like, at some point, there might be something that comes out that is better. But
I don't think anything ever can come out that's better than Bitcoin.
I mean,
just because this, like, because think of gold and Bitcoin, where obviously, like, you can't argue that gold is better than Bitcoin.
Yeah,
but like, agree. Gold still has a much higher market cap. It's just Bitcoin is good enough.
Yeah, but like
I mean,
you could get something that would be like easy to transact, maybe faster, whatever. I mean, it's always a back.
there's infinite stuff that's easier to translate. I mean, you can just look at Nano.
Yeah, but that
That's
is
way
always
quicker.
that. Yeah, that's the thing. You always have a trade off, right? Between like being centralized, being whatever. But the thing is, like, even if like, I don't know if there can be something better, but like, even if there could be something better, if it overtook Bitcoin, that fuck with everything because that gets overtaken. Then you can't invest in it. I mean, that'd be maybe good for the Rogerverse that try to have like the digital cash, whatever. Because I mean, that works for cash, right? You use cash for 10 years and then it's old and you just kind of get a new thing. Because obviously, if like, let's say Bitcoin got overtaken, Bitcoin would suffer. Bitcoin would go down, right? No one would have like
I
want to
mean,
have it. I think.
we're discussing something that I don't think will ever happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, if it did happen, then like the entire because I think the current value proposition of Bitcoin is the fact that it is valuable.
Yep.
Like I'm pretty sure anyone who's like, "Oh, Bitcoin is digital cash," is like just kind of well, have been Bitcoin cashed, I guess,
Yeah.
and just drowned out to oblivion.
So for me, that's kind of the thing. Like a lot of the altcoin people are like, yeah, just wait till Bitcoin gets overtaken by my coin. And then I'm like, dude, your coin's going to get overtaken next if that happens. And then that coin is going to get overtaken next. And this entire thing is shit. So it's like when you realize that, I think you realize that Bitcoin has to remain the king. And if it doesn't, we're in trouble. So it's never going
That's
to
actually
happen.
kind of why I'm scared to do any like big DeFi investments yet, just because like the DeFi sector is something where being technologically better is a bonus. So like let's say you invest in a decentralized exchange and a better one comes along. Then it's not a case of, oh no, but this decentralized exchange is good enough. Because who cares if it's good enough? You want the complete best experience.
True.
But like that's just not the case with Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin is like the whole scarcity thing is a 1 or a 0, where like either you know the total supply or you don't.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard.
And I mean,
Yeah.
the funny thing is because even like, let's say you don't agree with that argument at all. If something like, if we can have these coins get overtaken, it's kind of like having an inflation of sorts, just with different coins, right? And I mean, that's kind of what happens with the altcoins in general, where you like technically you don't have the max supply increase, but you get new coins, right? I mean, I've seen ICOs that do like 3 ICOs, 3 different coins, and then whenever they run out of funds, they just do a new one. Yeah, they're not increasing what they have of that coin, but they just make a new one, right?
Oh yeah, I think that's a valid point.
So
Like you'll see a lot of like altcoin tops.
yeah, I mean, fucking Substratum did it. They
Oh
actually,
yeah, they
I don't
did
know if
another
you,
ICO, didn't they?
yeah, they
I think
actually
they
did
tried to
three.
maybe.
They did
Oh.
3. They did Substratum, and then they did another one, and then did another one on top, but that flopped, I think, because people were onto the scam.
Do you want a recent update on Substratum?
Do you have one?
So basically they were like, yeah, we've run out of money. We can't really do anything now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
So we're
shorting,
gonna.
if
I
you're
think
shorting $80
they.
ETH, that's obvious.
Oh, God bless.
Oh,
But no, so I think they're like swapping their coin for some like Chinese exchange token as like a marketing move. And I'm
okay.
sure they'll get like, I mean, Substratum is worthless, but they'll probably get like pennies on the pennies
Yeah.
for it. But yeah, end of the
Jesus Christ.
saga.
I'm not
What
surprised.
compels you to look at Ethereum go from freaking 1400 to 80, and then you're like, we're not just gonna sell, we're gonna short, and
Yep.
we're gonna make it all back.
Oh, that's so dumb. The crazy part is if
Uh,
they just held it, right, they'd be completely fine. They made so many ICOs. If they just like did anything decent with their money, they'd still have a shitload. But
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had like 30 million in ETH.
yeah, I mean, pretty much every ICO did 30 million. Some did 50 or 80, and then they're running out after 2 years. Where you're like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, it's a team of 8 people in an office building. How the fuck can you spend that much? Like, decentralized whatever. I mean, if you're like renting out the top floor of a skyscraper in wherever the fuck, I mean, then it's not about the coin, right? Then it's about like having a good life, feeling like the king of the world, pretty much. But
Yeah. I mean, the sub guy, I'm pretty sure like it was found out he'd invested in the ICO himself with like the own funds. So like he just laundered money for it basically, and then used it to buy like a few properties.
yeah, I mean, if if you have no kind of morale or not morale, what's it called? Like if you don't have a conscience, I mean, it's a smart way to go about like scamming people. But yeah, I don't know how people can do it like with a straight face and then start selling those streams. And I mean, imagine like the thing is, those people know that that they're kind of like pushing shit, and then they're sitting there for 3 years pretending. It's mad to me, but
Yeah,
yeah.
you just need to get your holders poor enough where they can't afford to sue you.
Oh Jesus.
uh,
Yeah, I mean that's one way to go about it. But yeah, I think we'll end it on that note. Call it a day. We've gone on for actually almost 2 hours. Jesus.
oh geez,
But
great fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks Bybit for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate it. They let us do whatever we want. So you have these nice discussions. And they're happy with it. So really appreciate that. There are links in the description if you do want to check them out. Big thank you to Loomdart for coming by. And again, he was like, "Oh, you're sick. I'm gonna help you out." So really appreciate that. Thank you guys for coming by, and yeah, we'll see each other on Wednesday. Cred's gonna be around on Monday again, so you'll have cred going strong Monday. See ya, guys. Bye bye.
Peace.